We on? So
So,
you don't need a louder brand. Guess what? What you need is a stronger brand. Today, we're talking about how to build a resilient brand in a volatile economy. So we are Nate and Simone. Just so you know, we talk all things marketing. And today, we're going to talk about um, how to be sustainable, even when the market or when the economy seems like it is not super stable right now. So, with all that's going on in politics and in the world and all the all the stuff that's happening, right? It is still possible to have a solid business, a solid company, um, and bring in and grow a business even when it's not super it doesn't feel like it's safe out there really to be building a business. So uh, we are Nate and Simone. Subscribe to this channel and share this with friends so other people can see, uh, can learn and know what we're talking about here. Anywho, let's get going. Hey, Nate.
hey, how we doing? Back again. Another
Great.
another exciting episode. Um,
Yes.
yeah, so today, like I said, we're going to be talking about building a resilient brand in such an economy as we have. And it kind of depends on who you're talking to, but on the level of emergency that we're in, I guess. But I think it's probably safe to say that everyone's experiencing something with their business that is abnormal, maybe is the word I'd say.
Yeah.
Fair to say. Um, and so, yeah, like
Probably feels a little
what in the world
anxiety
can we do?
producing, a little scary at
Yeah,
times.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely a lot of that.
Mm.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so as I guess, I'll bet most people out there that could guess that in such an economy as the one we have currently and the situation that we're in, if you are focused on tactics, those tactics are going to break. Um, and so it's the brands that that lack that structure that they're going to crack, right? And if there's one thing that we talk about repeatedly on our videos, it's building that structure, creating that solid foundation in your business. And you can't go wrong with doing that, right?
That's right.
We're we're talking about going beyond logos, messaging. We're talking about building a business that is aligned inside and out, no matter what the market throws at it. And of course, the three things we always talk about here: visibility, viability, and valuation, right? That's what we're going to be, those are the solid foundation on which to build your business, okay? So first part here, the pillars, building the pillars of an adaptable brand identity. Most business founders build branding around aesthetics. Most, maybe many, maybe many is a better word, but anyway, build it around aesthetics, right? Does
That's
my
true.
logo look good?
That's what a
You
lot of
know,
people think of when you say brand. They think of, oh,
yeah,
my logo, my colors,
my,
my
my
fonts.
colors, my fonts, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But your
All of
brand is
that
so much
is,
more than that.
it is. And it's the other stuff that should inform the style of your font, the colors that you choose, and et cetera, right?
Exactly.
Um, all right, so is getting started with alignment. That is the first place where resilient brands start, right? Um, all right. So values and purpose. That's the first one, right? Being grounded in values and purpose, not slogans, having real operational clarity inside the business as much as what they project out there to be found by their ideal audience, right? But that's what I refer to. That's kind of like the internal visibility in a business. Um, what you stand for, what the business stands for, drives how you attract your audience and how your team shows up, right?
We're talking about,
Um,
yeah, those core values
yeah,
in your business. What are those core values?
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Um,
Clearly on that.
and then also, your understanding that your audience has of your brand and meeting them where they are, I think is important, right? Knowing what kind of things your audience may be experiencing in this type of an economy, right? That's affecting you as a business. It's affecting everyone, right? It's not just
Right.
you for sure. That's important to take into consideration.
Mm.
And brands that are resilient tend to listen more than they push. And that becomes part of the viability of the business, right? You're making sure that you're maintaining relevancy and not just creating more noise to add to the cacophony, right?
Right.
Um,
Otherwise, you don't stand out. You're just part of the noise, aren't you?
exactly. Part of that too is making sure that you are consistent in the message that you're creating and that you remain flexible in the format that you're creating it in. If your brand only works when things are going great, that unfortunately means it's fragile. So, um, your values, your purpose, those are things that are non-negotiable in your business, right? That is part of building that. It's one of the first things that I talk about in consulting with companies is what are your values? What's your mission? What are your goals? Like those are the things that are going to drive us forward, create touchstones as we progress. But it also gives me an idea of what it is that's motivating the person I'm talking to, right? If they don't have those things figured out, we figured them out together so that we're creating common purpose here. And again, that's
Ultimately, it helps
contributing.
to
Yeah,
future proof and recession proof your business,
right,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
You maintain clarity on what it is that's keeping you going through anything, right?
Yeah.
And
I've
that
seen
means
companies kind of jump from you know them for one thing, but then they see maybe some trend happening and then they'll jump to that trend. And it's all it does is confuses your market. They don't understand what's happening,
mhm.
and you don't want to do that.
Yep, jumping around from this, that, and the other, not really maintaining consistency, that's a problem.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. And it goes away from your purpose. Like why are you here? Why did you build this business?
mhm,
If your purpose was to connect people together, using telecommunications and you know um, telecommunications tech, then all of a sudden jumping to selling coffee beans makes no sense. All it does is confuse. I know of a company that did that, and it was very confusing. It's like what's
that's
happening? It's like, oh
that's quite
well,
a leap.
isn't it though? I'm
There
thinking
are,
it's just a
yeah,
money grab at that point. Y- you're not sticking to the purpose for which you created the company. It's just,
there's
oh well, the money's over here in coffee, so let's just sell coffee.
yeah, there's something to be said for businesses that are willing to adapt and evolve, right?
Yeah,
But if you're kind of, flip-flopping with the whatever, the current trend is happening at the moment, it gets exhausting for one thing, I would think.
it's
You're
exhausting,
trying to
and
keep
you know
up.
what it also does, and it also looks inauthentic.
Yeah. Nobody knows who
Like
you are
nobody
or what you're
knows
going
who
to
you
be
are
from
and what you're here
one minute to
for.
the next, right?
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of examples though of businesses that have evolved over time to from like Nokia. They started off over 100 years ago. They're a very old
Wow.
company. Over 100 years ago,
Yes,
they were selling
Samsung too.
raincoats, right? They were a raincoat company for
Yeah.
like fishermen,
Yes.
and all of a sudden Nokia started selling phones. I mean, well, not all of a sudden. That's quite a long evolutionary process.
Yeah, there's a long history, a long
Yeah.
evolution. Samsung too. They started with selling groceries, I think,
Hmm.
right? Um, Fish in the marketplace and that kind of thing. And but then they started selling a lot of things. So they kind of became like the Walmart of
Yeah.
Korea. And then they realized, oh, you know what? Electronics is where we should really focus, and kind of got rid of all the other stuff and just focused
Hmm.
in on electronics. And it was a process. It was an evolution. It wasn't just, oh, let's sell fish today and we'll sell cell phones tomorrow. That, what is that?
Yeah. Yeah. And one last example, Nintendo. They were, famous for Super Mario Brothers video game console, but when they started, they were selling playing cards. So
Right. But you know what? They stuck to a core value. Their core value was like fun and games, basically,
yeah,
right? It's
yeah,
still
that never
games.
changed.
It just
Yep,
changed
yep,
the technology of the games.
yeah, awesome. Good point.
So,
All right. So yeah, um, internal visibility means you have clarity on who you are, right? You know what you stand for, and the things that you know what things you're going to refuse to compromise on, right?
mm,
And that is what keeps everybody aligned as far as your team is concerned, and it's going to attract the type of people that you want to find you, right?
mm,
Um, and so next up, you need to know your people better than they know themselves. Um, Being an adaptable brand, right? You're not chasing buyers. They tune into you because they know what you have to offer. You could be almost kind of like a source of consistency in this otherwise chaotic, existence, right? Like they know for sure what they're going to expect from you because you don't change, right? You are who you are, and they know what they can get from you. That is what actually attracts a lot of people and a lot of like creates diehard fans, right?
yeah.
Um,
They know what they're gonna get. When you walk
yeah,
into a McDonald's, you know what you're gonna get. It's not
boom.
gonna change from this one to that one, you know.
Now, that being said, it is slightly different in different countries, and
Hmm.
even in Hawaii is different. Like they have spam and eggs there that they don't have here. So,
Wow,
yeah,
interesting.
but
But
that's
generally
Asian
it's
culture.
fast food. Right,
Yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah. But everything else is the same, right? They'll just have like special regional items, right? Specialty items. But
Yeah.
anyway,
I remember going to a McDonald's in Spain. It wasn't French fries, it was patatas fritas.
there you go. Exactly. Yeah. Apparently in
But it was still
Japan,
French fries.
they have a burger that has a black bun, I guess. I don't know.
Oh,
That
interesting. Wow.
I'm not sure about the story on that one. Maybe somebody can leave it in the comments. But
Mm. I've
yeah,
eaten very dark brown bread before. I forget what it's called, but yeah, I don't think I've ever seen
yeah,
black,
I can't.
a
I'm
particular
mystified
type
by
of
that one.
flour.
Yeah. Do they even grow flour in Japan? I don't know. Grow grains. Anyway, all right.
Micro rice.
They do. They do. That counts, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Um,
great.
yeah. All right. So obviously your customers' needs and anxieties can evolve quickly, but your core doesn't change, but maybe your offer is the part that adapts slightly to fit
Mhm.
that changing temperature, let's say. Maybe the message that you're sending out there changes to stay in sync with what's going on with your customers' lives, right? Um, Thinking about Adidas. This is slightly a little bit different, but related. Adidas is famous for running campaigns where, depending on what soccer team won, what football team won, and what players did really well, right? They will create ads around that player and send them out the same day.
Wow.
And so the ROI on those ads that they're creating is vastly greater than any of the other kind of like evergreen ads that they have created, right? So being very timely and
Yeah, very
fitting
timely.
the zeitgeist, right? Going along with what's going on, what's happening currently is very important.
Yeah.
And that can mean big bucks potentially.
Yeah.
Um,
They talk about, yeah, having joining the conversation that your customers are already having. So if everybody's talking
yes.
about the game that we just won and this
Mhm.
particular MVP player, you come out with an ad that is
Boom.
along that same conversation. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
golden. That's awesome. Hmm.
Um, and they have like a dedicated team just for those type of campaigns. Um, but anyway, so this is we're talking foundational viability for the business here. You're making sure that you are maintaining relevance and you're not just creating a lot of noise. That is the ultimate goal there. Um, all right. Next up, flexing your brand without losing yourself. You want to make sure that your narrative, the story around your brand, is consistent in its purpose, but it maintains flexibility. It can change slightly, you know what I mean, to fit the mood and what's going on currently. Um, and it again, same thing here. If your story only works in calm weather, it's not strategic. It may be more cosmetic, let's say.
Mm.
Um, all right. So, next up, future proofing. How can we future proof the business here? The if there's one thing that's certain in life, it's that nothing is certain, I think is what they say. But
Right.
the fact
Changes.
is that the market is not going to get more stable. So, that's the hard truth.
Yeah.
Your company and your brand just needs to get more responsive to what's going on. And so the brands that are resilient are able to move fast, but it's not necessarily being reactive. There's a strategy. There's a reason why they're taking the actions that they're taking. Um, Part of that is they're paying attention to market intelligence. If intelligence gathering is part of your business, then you'll have well, not easy, but you'll have ready access to the type of information that you're going to need to help you make the crucial decisions, right? And
So that means what? Staying close to your customer,
above
paying attention
above
to what's
all,
going on. Yeah.
yeah, knowing
Yeah.
what in the world
I
is going on
feel
with your
like
customers.
when it comes to that nurturing and yeah, in your nurturing process, make it more of a two-way conversation rather than just you dumping content on them. What's happening with them. Give them the opportunity to talk to you and and let you know what's happening with them. I think that's a great
Yeah,
way to stay close, so that you're not guessing. It's part of your research process. You're
yeah.
um, always finding out what's happening with them.
And like it depends on the size of the company we're talking here, because you might have entire divisions within an enterprise level company that are dedicated to market research, and they have product test panels and people coming in and
Yeah,
and doing
focus groups.
interviews,
Yeah.
focus groups, and all this kind of stuff. That is
Mhm.
definitely something that businesses do, obviously, but even the smaller companies can do stuff like this, right? And it can be as simple as simply sitting down with one of your best customers. You see them come into the coffee shop every day. Hey, you mind if I just pick your brain about a few things and just, just
Mhm.
chat them up, start talking, listen to what they have to say. You're going to find
Yeah.
out a lot just by
Or if you're an
listening.
online entrepreneur and you're running an online community, posting a poll and getting
Hmm.
people's opinions on different things, and
I,
and
I just
having them vote.
I just got an email today from my insurance company. It was research team at my insurance company, and they were wanting my feedback on my experience working with them. So you know,
Mhm.
it can be something like that. But it's trying to stay current. There are also, as far as marketing intelligence goes, there are various tools out there that can allow you to do what's called a social listening. And so you can type in keywords that you are interested in, and the software will send you, will alert you when someone is talking about that, like on Twitter or wherever. You can set up Google Alerts for something similar. If you have certain keywords that you're interested in, go to
Mhm.
Google Alerts, create a Google Alert, and Google will send you an email whenever it has a list of articles related to that topic. You know,
Right.
um,
Well, that's great if,
and
especially if you don't have, say you don't even have very close access to your customers, or you don't have a large enough audience to really to poll or ask or do research on. Having Google Alerts turned on
yeah.
that alerts you to what people out there are talking about. It's a great way
Hmm.
to stay current on what's happening,
Yeah, yeah, and
talking about.
getting data on behavioral data, and that could be actions that they're taking with, like, as far as opening, what emails are they opening from you, what actions are they taking in those emails, are they clicking on things? um, that's kind of like behavioral data, but then there's other types of behavioral data, like what web pages are they visiting,
Yeah,
that
what
kind of thing.
blogs are they reading?
Yeah.
Yeah.
um,
What
so
the
there's all kinds of stuff like
conversations are
that.
like on some social media platforms.
Yeah, go to Reddit,
Yeah,
go to
'cause-
subreddits, listen,
yeah,
listen in.
Google indexes all of those.
I guarantee you, whatever you're involved in, there's a subreddit for it. You
That is
just
true.
type it in the search, you'll find it, and you can go in there and just kind of lurk, as they like, and read what people are talking about, and you can learn a lot of stuff that way.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, there's a reason why Google bought Reddit, right? And now Reddit all of a sudden is like the number one search engine, right? Or at the top of the list on almost all Google searches. But anyway, so okay, structure. Having a structure allows you to be agile, right? It almost seems kind of counterintuitive. Like you think, oh, it's got to be free flowy, we're just going with a vibe here. But no, no. This is So I used to think that I used to be have like a thinking that I was going to be an artist, right? I like to draw, I like to write and that kind of stuff.
Mm.
And so I thought, well, I just need to be kind of like play everything by ear like jazz, right? But but
It
really,
works great for jazz, but not great for for
no,
your
no.
business.
See, that's the thing. That's the thing, though. Jazz
Mm.
musicians are. It's not just whatever notes they feel like playing at the moment. There is a reason.
It
Everything is a
still needs
choice.
to,
It
yeah,
it's
yeah.
all
Other,
within the
it can't
structure
just
of
be all
the
over the
song.
place. Yeah.
It's You have to have, so actually
Mm.
what contributes to creativity is structure.
It's structure.
That's
Yeah,
one thing
that's
that I
true.
found. That's one thing that I found.
I did learn this
Um,
about songwriting. It say learn the structure of a song before you decide to break the rules of it.
yeah,
So
you have to know the rules in order to know how to break them. That's
No,
I've heard it put that
that
way.
makes
So
sense. Yeah,
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 yeah.
absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
so chaos kills momentum on all levels and in any. I don't care what you're doing. Having chaos in your life is going to kill your momentum.
Yeah.
Um, the
Yeah,
brands
but
that,
steady, consistent flow, steady, consistent action. That's
yeah,
where that's where compounding actually helps when
right,
it's steady, consistent, and you have structure. But yeah, you veer
yes.
off that path, there's no momentum.
hmm
You never get
The
to the compounding.
the brands that are actually moving quickly have systems in place that allow them to do that, right? They know where the guardrails are and they know where improvising is okay, you know. Um, but if you are trying to adapt to a situation and you're just kind of like let free for all, devil may care, let's just go for it. Are you going to have the delivery system in place to as they say in marketing, your delivery better be able to well, excuse me, you better be able to deliver on the promises your marketing has made, you know.
Right.
And so if you just
That's
go
where
out there
your
and
good
say,
operations come in, right?
yeah, you have to have SOPs in place. You
Operations
have
team
to,
has to deliver on the promises that the marketing department made.
yes, exactly. Having established communication rhythms set up, you have your decision frameworks that allow your people that are kind of out there in the field on the front lines to make those decisions. That's key, and that is part of having a viable business, right?
Right.
Um, and So movement beats noise. Another key thing to keep in mind here, as far as um, we're talking about ways to future-proof your business, right? Movement beats noise. So when things are looking down, the brands that take action, even if they're imperfect, are more likely to win attention.
Mhm.
And I've heard like one of my favorite sayings. I don't know who said this originally, but it's kind of, I should get a tattoo of this basically. But done is better than perfect. That's one of my favorite
Yes.
things.
That's something we all need to remember, right? Because
Yeah,
it's so easy to just stay on something and keep working it, keep working it, keep working it. And before you before you call it, okay, it's good enough, put it out there and let's get it in front of the market so the market can actually even give us feedback, right?
yeah,
Because it's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect
yeah,
because you might think it's perfect and then you put it out there in the marketplace and your market is looking at it like, okay, what is this? This is not what what I want, what I need, you know?
yeah.
So
And motion might look like repackaging. You know, um, you're not really
yeah,
changing what you're offering. You're just repackaging it.
yeah,
And that can be done in so many different ways, but it can be done in a way that fits the current trend and what's going on. So you're not changing the structure, you're not changing what it is that you offer, you're just putting it out there in a different way, right? And it could be literally changing the packaging. you know
yeah.
um,
That's
there's
true. I've seen it done with artists, right? You
yeah,
can repackage an album. It's a new album cover, new gloss, maybe add a new song to it. Um, work the instrumentation a little bit to update it for today's sounds rather than the 80s or the 70s and
yeah,
re re-release. It happens all the time.
yep. um, Repositioning might be also, that's the motion might look like repositioning. So um, with positioning, we've talked about this before on videos, what that all entails, but the things that you are saying that you do, somebody needs to be able to say the opposite of it, right? So you are putting yourself in opposition to the competition in some fashion. So a lot of people unfortunately say we have the highest quality at the lowest prices. But the truth is, nobody's going to say that they have the lowest quality at the highest prices, right? That
Right.
doesn't make any sense. So everybody's going to say
In
the
a
same
great
thing, in other
position.
words, right?
Yeah.
So that's not positioning. You need to find the thing that makes you different from the others, right?
Or I
And
have
that,
20 years of experience. That's kind of a lot of people say that too. That's not
yeah,
doesn't really make you a whole lot different.
right, right.
Yeah.
There can be, you know, young kids just out of college that have less experience than you, but you know, if they can deliver and make the
And deliver.
experience exciting and they are, you know, dialed into the current trends, doesn't that give them better, more of an advantage over you? Crusty old 20-year-old veteran.
Right. Right.
um,
So
so
it's like,
anyway,
hey, what do you do? Do you do it faster? Do you do it easier? Do you, do you work nights and weekends when everybody else is shut down at 5? Um,
yeah,
yeah. Do you provide, uh, do it, we do it all for you. You can just sit back and chill. Or is it more like, okay, you do it yourself, like IKEA, you put it together yourself, but we've got great instructions in all the different languages, all
yeah,
the most popular languages, you know? What is it that separates you from somebody else who sells the same thing?
yeah, and in like a in the situation we're talking about where it's a maybe a downwards trend to the economy, what is it that people are doing that you can do differently in this case that helps you to stand out, right?
Yeah, that hopefully does not cause you, or you're not thinking of like, let me just drive down my prices, because then that's becomes just a race to the bottom. Is
Hmm.
there a way to that you can offer more value for the same amount,
Yeah.
so that your prices is can stay the same or relatively the same?
Yep.
We don't want to do
Um,
races to the bottom.
no. Yeah, I see a lot of people or companies offering products. They're actually offering less product at the same price. So they don't have to change the price, but they're just offering less product.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, the big
that's a
companies do tend to do that, right?
disturbing trend. Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, when you go to the grocery store, you see the two mayonnaise bottles side by side. One said
Yeah.
they look exactly the same. They look the same size. Well, one says 15 ounces, the other one says 12 ounces. But
Hmm.
so you pick them up and you turn them upside down. One has a big dip in the in the bottom, and the other one is more.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's where the ounces went. It
Well,
went into that
that's
giant dip.
that's where you change the packaging. You do the repackaging so they can't see that, right?
Right. And you
Yeah.
slap a nice new like star on the front that says new, and you're
Hmm.
wondering what's new.
Yeah. We haven't lowered our prices. Yeah. We won't tell you that we've lowered the volume, but
Mm,
yeah, anyway.
yeah.
Um anyway, so
Yeah, don't do that.
uh
Offer more value, not less.
well,
Uh,
actually that anyway, I
it
it
helps
could
their
be a
bottom
viable
line.
option. It could be a viable option. It kind of just depends. But yeah.
Yeah, it helps their bottom line, but it tends to be more for the shareholders than for the customers.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Who's suffering on that one, right?
yeah.
Um, all right. So um, again, we'll go back to market intelligence here, but being able to use that intelligence to grow your business. Um, again, we're talking about future proofing, how you can future proof your business here, right?
Mhm.
But using market intelligence as a growth system. Um, and if you looking, it really requires you to look at market research as not necessarily just a marketing task, but a leadership discipline, right? So you are the one who's guiding the ship, right? Steering the ship. Um, this is like an essential part of the thing that you do, because you have to know what's going on in your market, to know what the trends are, what's happening, who's doing what, so that you know how to change, and what changes to make. That makes sense, right? Um, can you spot trends that are going to affect buyers' decision making before it even happens, before they realize it? For example, um, there was something that happened recently about this. I can't think of what it was now. I'll think of it. Anyway, um, this is kind of like, just to recap a little bit, but
Yeah.
agility, being agile, uh, involves having structure. You have to have those SOPs. Internal communication has to be on point, and your teams need to be empowered to make decisions on their own, to make things fast, right? But again, having SOPs, part of that,
In a framework, right? So
having
you
the
have to have a
guardrails,
frame.
having the
Yeah.
guardrails set up, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And that's a great point. Like as long as your team has good guardrails, they have those SOPs, but you allow for some room um, in decision making that they can make on their own within those guardrails, then they're free to take ownership and to um and to lead themselves and lead their teams without necessarily having to stop and wonder like, well, what is the boss gonna think?
mhm.
And I need to ask the boss.
What would boss do?
Mhm.
WWBD.
WWBD.
All right. So, trust and loyalty can be your strategic advantage in cases like this. So, when your confidence is dropping in the market, trust becomes your leverage in that case. And that can be internally, with your team, with the people in your company, internal stakeholders, whoever that may be. But then also, of course, trust with your market, like your audience, your buyers. Um, the brands that tend to last a long time, they communicate clearly and early. Um, they don't wait around to craft the perfect message. Again, going back to done is better than perfect, right? They say the real things, and they say it right now. Think about like brands like Coca-Cola that are 100 plus years old. How in the world have they maintained through all of the various downturns throughout time? For sure, Coca-Cola was around before the Great Depression, right?
Yeah,
So
I
they
believe
weathered
so.
that storm. What in the world did they do that allowed them to join us, to continue to be such a massive brand that they are, right? I think it might be
Thank
part
you.
of the next thing that I was going to mention is creating belonging.
Yeah,
It's not just marketing. You're not just creating ads just to churn out ads. You're creating a community, right, around it. You are creating ways for people to connect with the brand and with each other around the
and with
brand,
each other.
you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, So you have you're creating content, yes. You also have maybe events that you're doing. Um, any opportunity for real engagement, especially through social media, I think in that case. But your people, your audience need to feel that they need to feel seen. They need to feel that you are seeing them, right?
You're
And
seeing them and they're seeing each other,
yeah, yes, yes, indeed.
connecting with each other. That's
That's
where
part of
really
that
real
community.
community comes in, where you can be there, you're the connector, but you're the catalyst, but they're connecting with each other and growing. and growing that community from within. And in that way, you don't necessarily even need to be there. As long as
Yeah.
they're finding each other and connecting with each other, you're the catalyst.
Yeah.
And that's stickiness right there. They'll stick with you because this is where their
And
friends are.
yep. And if you've done a great job of that and orchestrating that customer experience and making sure that your your customers feel cared for all along the way, it's going to go a long way in when this happens in the economy, when things downturn, right? If your customers feel like you've really taken care of them and you understand their needs, they are not going to go anywhere, regardless of what's happening, right? Come hell or high water, there's really not going to be much that's going to change their minds. And so you're turning that trust into referrals. You're extending the customer lifetime value and therefore increasing your margins because you are reducing your cost for acquiring new customers, right? Um, that's you're compounding the investment that it took to acquire that customer, right? You're building value in the business, in other words. That's one of the three V's we talk about. Um, all right. So saying the hard thing is important here, right? Brands need to communicate, being transparent, even if things go sideways. You know, maybe it might be that you have to raise your prices because of what's going on in the economy, and that may be true. Being clear and upfront about that, being transparent about the reason why goes a long way, I think, to helping ease that situation.
It's true.
I think a lot of people,
Discontinuing a particular product line, you know,
yep,
might have to do that. But yeah, communicating it does go a long way. It says that you're authentic and that you care, and
yeah.
and people really appreciate that.
Unfortunately, there are some brands out there that take advantage of this situation like this and, price gouge. But,
Yeah,
those,
those are the brands that we don't like.
right, right, right. Not the same thing here that we're talking
Get
about.
protested against, right?
Yeah, yeah, or yeah, exactly. Um, okay, so again, creating a sense of belonging is important. Your audience is more than data points. Um, they also are feeling the chaos, so build a community around it. And then building value in the business means that you are building trust with your customers, and they are continuing to, stay with you, increasing their lifetime value, decreasing your cost for acquiring new customers, creating, rating fans that are telling other people about you and bringing them into your circle. So, all right,
Yeah, that trust can be a new currency, really.
yeah,
Um, that attention and trust. It's not just about how much you can sell and what kind of revenue you can bring in. It's where's the loyalty with your customers? Do they trust you? Do they keep coming back? Are they bringing others? Is there a sense of community? That's all great currency in your business.
yeah. All right, so um, talk again, going back to resilience, from resilience to strategic growth, thinking about how you can not only be resilient, but how can you turn that into a path to growth for your business. Resilience, being resilient as a business, isn't just sitting back and hoping for the best, right? It's it's proactive. That is where the
You
strategy
have
comes
to
in.
take action. That's
Yeah,
right.
having a clear path and a reason for everything that you're doing in your business um, is being proactive, and it is really what is going to help you last through any type of storm. Um, You can start with auditing your fragility. Where are you reacting instead of responding um, to the situation? There is a subtle difference there, I guess, right? Um,
Yeah, because it's the reacting is the opposite of being proactive, right? Understanding that there are some things that are going to come up that's just normal in a business. Have you thought about it ahead of time? What are you going to do when this happens, when that happens? Um, so when already knowing ahead of time, you've already strategized it, you planned for it, you've got the SOPs in place. So then when it happens, now you can respond. You're not just reacting. You've already
yeah,
got a
you have a
plan in
plan in
place.
place for when that occurs. Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's not necessarily possible to think of every eventuality, right? But when you're talking about things that are occurring in the macroeconomy, um, you can pretty with relatively little effort surmise what types of things
yeah,
what the experience is going to be for your customer, right? And you can respond to that rather than uh, being totally caught off guard and not having any
right.
clue. That's
History teaches us, right? Because we've seen the highs and the lows in the economy over the years, and just even if we haven't all been there for it, um, but we know from history that
no.
nothing stays the same. There
This
are
is
going to
where
be
that
dips and there are going to be highs, right? And so,
Yeah,
yeah,
this is
it's a
where
thing
that
to be
20 years of experience comes in handy, right? Because
right, right,
chances are good you've seen something similar already.
yeah,
Um, and you have a better idea of how to handle it. All right, so simplify. Simplify what's going on in the business and systematize. Um, Doing those two things right there can increase your resiliency, right? Um, if it's less has less dependency on you or any one fail point, it's going to be more resilient, right, as a business. Um, having clarity around your story, excuse me, your story of your brand, right? That helps. That goes a long way. And then because that leads into creating a repeatable experience for your customers, your audience, out there. And again, that leads to brand loyalty, right? Because they know what to expect from you. Um, and so yeah, great ideas. Keep them in mind. All right. And going back to what we were talking about earlier, movement, right? Done is better than perfect. Having motion, staying in motion, right? Like the object that stays in motion, right? That whole thing.
yeah.
Um,
An object at
Object
rest
in
tends to stay
motion.
at rest. An object in motion
Yeah, right.
stays
Tends to
in
stay in
motion
motion.
unless
Yeah,
it's acted upon by an opposite
yeah,
force.
right. Of course.
Right.
In which case
So
you have a plan in place to respond appropriately. But
exactly, exactly. And
um,
keep the momentum going.
yeah. And when things happen in the economy at large, there is potential for the market to shift, right? And market share shift um, can occur. So those brands who are on their toes, they have structure, they have the plan in place that's going to allow them to respond rather than react. They're the ones that are going to be able to snatch up that market share when the shift comes. And you know, there are going to be other people out there that are going to drop the ball, and you can pick it right up. You know, that's what it is. Um, so
Uh,
take a look at your fragility. Where are you guessing in the business? Where are you reacting instead of responding? Simplify, then systematize, build feedback loops internally in the business to keep tabs on what's going on and what's working, what's not, and how you can improve. clarify your message around, what it is you're trying to put out there and into the world, and make sure that everyone is up to speed on the business values, like the core values that keep everything moving, right? And don't just survive out there, be moving, advance. The real opportunity is not just in, surviving, it's capturing that market share when everyone else stalls, right? Okay, so let's go to recap. Let's do a little recap here. Resilient brands don't react, they respond. Number one. Trust and agility and alignment are your competitive edges collectively. And the V3 growth system helps you build that foundation through visibility, viability, and valuation. So, if you want to create a resilient business, and a great place to start is by taking the growth ceiling assessment, so you can figure out where it is that you are now, so that you know what actions to take to get to more stable, right, situation.
All right.
Um,
The link will be in the description. And we also, if you learned something today, let us know. Put your biggest takeaways in the comments. And yeah, and if you want your business to be more resilient in a downturn economy, let us know. We can help you put a plan in place and strategize how to systematize and to strengthen your business so that you're not reacting, that you are responding.
Yep.
All right. And thank you for being with us today. We'll see you next time. Have a great